go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. My name is Alejandro Ramirez. I'm one of the graduate students, part of the UH Graduate Committee for the Society of the Advancement of Chicanos, Native Americans, and I'm sorry, let me repeat that. The Society for the Advancement of Chicanos, Hispanics, and Native Americans in Science. It's a mouthful. Well, we shorten it to SACNAS. And so we're going to give you a brief introductory rundown of what the program is you signed up for, so that way everyone's on the same page, and what you can expect out of this mentorship deal for graduate applications. So just to give like a brief outline of what's to come, about 22 slides, should be fairly done soon. We'll explain what our organization is, introduce the leadership. So if you have any questions or issues that come up during the program, you can reach out and contact us immediately. We'll introduce the program, what is expected of you, ask if graduate school is right for you, timeline of the broad general meetings, such as this one in particular, what they'll entail of each meeting. So the first bullet point, like, what is SACNAS? So SACNAS, as I explained, is an organization on the national level that aims to promote underrepresented minorities in sciences through professional development. And so the national organization is essentially has chapter organizations that are scattered throughout America at each university or different professional areas of where a lot of professional development or STEM occurs. And so this is primarily, again, a STEM-oriented organization that we aim to promote diversity in STEM that has been previously underserving minorities in this country. So we aim to like sort of promote these underrepresented minorities by offering like workshops such as this one, mentorship programs, CV development, research opportunities. That's one big area that we focus on, is like making sure like undergraduates or have like a lab to get into, that sort of stuff. And so now I'd like to turn over to the rest of the leadership to introduce themselves, so that way you all know who we are. And again, in the future, you can reach out to us if you have any issues in the program. So who would like to go first?
I'll go first. Hey guys, I'm Larissa. I kind of head the graduate committee. I'm a first year cell and molecular biology PhD student. If you need any help, have any questions, you can DM me in the Discord or you can email me. I was CC'd on the email that y'all received about this meeting.
Okay, I'll go ahead and jump in. My name is Jake. I am also a first year PhD student, however, in biochemistry. I'm also open to questions on the Discord. If you DM me on Discord, I'll answer pretty much right away.
Hey guys,
everyone, I'm Sebastian.
Sebastian, go.
Oh, okay, makes life easier. Hi everyone, I'm Sebastian. I'm a second year PhD student over at the Department of Physics, and I guess I can try to be helpful, so feel free to hit me up.
Okay, hey everyone, I'm Roshni. I'm a first year PhD student in cell and molecular biology, and I'm part of the graduate committee, particularly social media stuff. So if you see a post, it's probably from me now. So yeah, you can DM me if you have any questions.
I'll go. Hi everyone, I'm Arnell. I'm gonna start my third year of my PhD in environmental engineering. I'm also an officer. I'm part of the mentorship area. So yeah, you guys can definitely contact me if you have any questions or concerns. I'm in engineering, so yeah, if you're there and you want to know something about that, hit me up.
Okay. Oh, I probably should have mentioned that I'm also in physics and a second year student, so PhD. So if any physics mentees have any questions, I'm also here. So a bit about the mentorship program. So just so we're all on the same page, the primary goal is we're trying to help undergraduates who are thinking about pursuing a higher degree in STEM. And so when I was an undergraduate, I never knew anything about graduate school. I just thought it was just some fancy thing for people who just wanted extra education. I didn't realize you could like benefit so much. And so we want to like sort of educate undergraduates who are unfamiliar with what graduate school is, or like some of the things, like for instance, a lot of what I found out is that you don't have to pay for graduate school in the sciences. They actually pay you. And so that was like a huge reveal to me. So like not having that monetary barrier was like, oh, like sort of a relief when it came to applying to these schools, except for like application fees. But that again could be like remedied by just asking the school for like a fee waiver if you qualify. And so that's one of the examples that we'll try to like educate you, but there's like many different more like application components, that sort of thing, that we'll talk about each of the general meetings. And so the program will span from this May 2021 to January 2022. We're going to host once a month a meeting / broad general meeting about each application component, something you should be aware about in graduate school, which we'll talk about later in the presentations, and aspects of other graduate applications that may be specific to your field. And that's where your mentors come in. So in addition to having these lecture series, you're going to be paired with a mentor in your respective area. And we've tried to match this as closely to your interests as you've filled out in the Google form. So that's one of the reasons why we asked your interest, is because like we want to like match you as close as we can with a graduate student who has similar research interests. But you may find out like based on like how many mentors we had signed up, that like their interests might not quite align with you, but their broad general field does. So so that's one area we worked best to pair you. And so they'll help you like try to like mentor you in terms of like developing your statements, applications, figuring out what you want to do, like narrowing down your research interests. So, because I will say, like when we had some of the undergraduate mentees sign up, we noticed that a lot of like a good portion of them were putting like different subfields within like say biology or physics, and like not realizing that like, hey, these are actually completely different. So you actually have to narrow down what you're really interested in. And so that's one aspect in which your graduate mentor will help you out with, is sort of like narrowing down what you are actually interested in and what really excites you in terms of like getting a PhD in that respective field. So now comes to like what is expected of you. So please show up to the general meetings, such as like this one right here. We're not doing this because we hate you or like we want you to force you to get onto Zoom. These general meetings are very crucial to sort of educate you on what each application component entails, like educating you the difference between a statement of purpose and a personal statement, or like a research statement. Those are very important distinctions that you need to know when making your graduate application, because a lot of graduate schools receive tons of applications, especially in the Ivy Leagues. Like Cornell, when I applied, received like 1,000 graduate applications for physics. And so if they see that your application is lacking, or you failed to distinguish between a statement of purpose or personal statement, or failed to read the statement, they're just going to toss your application aside. And that's not something you want. So attendance to these meetings are crucial because they're here to help you out. And so again, we'll also record them. And they're usually only going to last about an hour. So at most, with these general meetings, you're going to commit about an hour a month. And also, you want to maintain contact with your mentor. This can be done through whatever means you find comfortable. So if you want to use WhatsApp or Messenger, that's up to you. We also have a Discord where we have undergraduates and graduate students alike from the sciences all coming together and just sort of like discussing with each other. And we post like research opportunities, social events where you can mingle. And so that really is there to help you guys out and stay in contact if that's an option. And I included a QR code to join the server. Also, if for some reason an issue comes up with your mentor, or like something else just happened, that you didn't anticipate, please let us know as soon as possible. You can reach us out through our email, which is posted on here. However, one of the fastest ways to get in contact with us is through the Discord. So if you feel like you need like immediate help, that's one way of like getting in touch with us, but the Gmail also works. And so one of the things you should been deciding in your head is sort of like asking yourself, is graduate school right for me? So here we've laid down some reasons for and reasons against graduate school, because graduate school is no easy undertaking. It's not like undergraduate, like right now. Graduate school is a whole different beast in and of itself. So some of the reasons to go for graduate school are you may be passionate in what you're interested in terms of research. Like for example, I saw someone that was interested in plasma physics, and so they want to learn more about that, specifically in fusion. Like, that's awesome. That's really interesting. So going into a PhD program really enables you to learn more about that field, whereas you wouldn't learn that in, say, like a job unless you work in a company that specializes in fusion or something like that. That's one example. Two, you want to conduct research in a lab. You just like doing research. Well, a PhD, it has you doing research, so that's awesome. You want to pursue a career in academia, so you want to be in, say, a national lab or at a university as a professor or like a research faculty. Those jobs require a PhD. You want to advance the field of science. Also, you need a PhD. Everyone who has a PhD works at the forefront of science. So that's pretty much common sense. And like the things they teach you at a PhD will also contribute to helping you figure out ways to advance science. Intellectually challenging. So if you like challenging yourself in terms of like research or like your area of expertise, biology, physics, psychology, what have you, PhD is also right for you because they teach you concepts that are advanced in your field that you might not have otherwise seen in your undergraduate career. To increase your financial prospects. I think this goes without saying that the higher the degree, like master's or PhD beyond and PhD, the chances of obtaining a higher salary within like certain companies or different industries increases. Again, how that increase or how much of an increase depends on your field and the company, but it certainly increases by a substantial amount. But it should not be your only reason why you should go to graduate school. So one of the reasons against graduate school is money. So they do pay you to go to graduate school. However, it's not a lot. And that could vary between schools. And you should be watchful of that, because just because they pay you, let's say, $38,000 a year at Columbia University, that's still probably not going to be enough to live in New York City comfortably. So that's something you have to consider as the unfortunate reality, or say living in like in some of the more popular cities like LA, for instance. Like if you go to like UCLA, you have to consider like your situation. Like, are you willing to take that pay and adjust for that cost of living? And also, I'm sorry, were you going to say something?
Yeah, can I interject here for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
You also got to make sure, like at UH, they actually cover our tuition, which is about $8K a year, I think. So like some schools will cover the cost of your tuition, some schools won't. So you have to make sure that you are paying attention when you're applying, like, hey, is this school going to cover the cost of my tuition, or is that going to be coming out of my stipend? That's another thing you want to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, typically when you're accepted into a graduate program, they'll typically cover your tuition, but sometimes they're a bit sneaky. Like I was accepted into Notre Dame, and they told me like, oh, we're going to give you this amount of money for your tuition. And then I had to closely read it, because the amount that they were covering was just $100 off what tuition was. So I would have to be paying an extra $100 to go to Notre Dame. So I'm like, nah, screw that. I'm not doing that. Try to pull a fast one on me, no. Also, it's a long-term commitment. On average, a PhD will take you like 5 years. It could even take you shorter if you are some god from another parallel universe who science just comes like naturally to you, and all the planets align for you to finish your PhD early. That has happened, but PhDs on average take 5 years. It could take like a year longer. Again, that depends on the project that you're on. Situations like COVID, like I know COVID delayed a lot of graduations for a lot of students. So again, it's a long-term commitment, but on average, you should be looking around 5 years. It could be difficult, stressful, and there's a lot of self-motivation, self-discipline that you have to develop, because they just don't hand out PhDs to anyone. So you really have to be committed to your craft, to your field, and making sure that you advance yourself and not plateau in your program, to make sure that you go on to the next level in terms of like the PhD program. It can also interfere with personal affairs. One thing that I will give you as an advice, don't have a kid in graduate school. I've seen a lot of like students and friends have this, and it's just sort of complicated things. So unless you you can handle that. If you can handle that, by all means, go ahead. But it's best not to like burden yourself with extra personal duties or affairs. Like when you're applying to a graduate school, you have to like let the people in your life know that for the next 5 years, you are going to be hard at work at getting a higher degree. And some may not understand, and some will, but like you have to be sure that when you go into this graduate school, that like the time you commit won't go to waste because you had some interference in your personal life or something. And again, that's really up to you whether or not this is something you can commit to, or like something that you can feasibly do. And
I do want you're making it sound like we don't ever do anything other than school. Like that's not the case.
That's not the case. Like it may sound like we're just
like
solely focused on graduate school. Like that's not the case. What I'm saying is like if you have like a big undertaking, it's going to be difficult along with graduate school. Like if you could still have hobbies outside of graduate school, you still have like a social life as well. So I want to make that perfectly clear as well. So it's not like just like grad school is everything. No,
we're not slaves.
That's not by all means, but okay. And so it could be also difficult finding a tenure position because, you know, humans on average, live to like age 70, age 80, and they just never want to leave school. So it could be difficult finding them because of like the tenure system we have. So at least in the university level, but there are other career opportunities outside of academia that benefit greatly if you have a PhD. So, and also 6, you should not go to graduate school if you just want more school. I think that's not a good enough reason why you should try to attempt a PhD or a master's degree just because more school.
Before we move on to the next slide, I did want to point out Daniel had a question, and he was asking, can you get a part-time job during graduate school? That's I know in our department, biology or biochemistry, I think there are rules against having part-time jobs.
It's actually
that's going to depend, I believe.
Yeah, on the program.
Yeah, that's going to be very dependent on the program.
I feel like for most graduate programs, either you're not going to have time to work a part-time job, because I feel like, honestly, if I was working through my entire undergrad career, and that wasn't a problem. I even had 2 jobs at one point, and it still wasn't a problem. But if I had a job right now, like I would be dying. It's a whole different can of worms in grad school than it is in undergrad. So you're probably not going to have time for another part-time job. The stipend is like good for what you need, typically.
You can live on it.
You can live on it. You're not going to need in most cases to get like a part-time job. But likely you won't have time. And like Jake was mentioning, sometimes like there's little rules against it. Because in our program, like it's like illegal for us to get another job while we're on stipend. So definitely check with your program about that as well.
Also, I will say one thing. I know a good portion of the graduate students in the physics department tutor as a side job. Like, they decide their hours, and like someone asks for tutoring, so they just like do it by hourly. So it's not technically like, say, a job because you're not employed, because you're just doing this out of your own will. But I've seen some students just do tutoring as a side gig as for like a little extra cash. So I feel like in that respect, in terms of tutoring outside of UH, you can still do that if that's an avenue that you want to explore. So something to think about. So one important disclaimer. One of the reasons why we had you answer if you were a junior or senior or freshman or sophomore. So most graduate programs have their deadlines in December or January, and they offer admissions in the next fall semester. So that means if you apply now, and let's say hypothetically you get accepted, hopefully, you will begin your graduate studies in fall of 2022. So that means if you graduate like right now, spring of 2021, you will have a gap year between your graduation and the beginning of your graduate studies. So I just want to make sure that everyone is perfectly clear on this so that way no one's caught off guard. So if you are a junior and you are thinking about graduate school and don't want a gap year, this is the perfect time to do it. If you are a senior, you could still do it. The gap year won't be a detriment to you, but I will say, from what I've heard, the longer you stay, the longer the gap, the harder it is to get into graduate school. So you can take some time off, but don't take like 10 years off. That won't help your case. Okay, so a timeline of the general meetings. So what we're going to do is sort of like give you a brief overview of like each meeting. And here I've constructed this little nifty timeline for you, so you know the exact dates of what to expect, so you can plan ahead if you have conflicts or something. And we'll have the times at each event, and these are all going to be online, so you don't have to show up physically unless there's like a consensus of like people just want to like have like an in-person meeting. We can discuss that later in the future, but for now we're all going to make everything online and virtual. So, and it's all going to be recorded, so you're going to have access to those recordings when you need to look back on like what a statement of purpose is or something like that. So right now we're introducing this program May 21st. In June 9th, we're going to start talking about program selection, reaching out to professors in GRE. We're going to have an optional workshop in the same month, June 16th. This is going to be fellowship, specifically the NSF Graduate Research Fellowship. So this is a fellowship that you can use to fund yourself going to graduate school, and actually makes you irresistible to admin committees and professors alike, because they don't have to pay for you. So who in the right mind wants to turn away a student that's paid for? And so July 9th, we'll start discussing application materials, how to start compiling them. August 9th, we'll cover interviews, CVs, resume development. September 10th, we'll start going over mental health awareness, one of the things you need to be aware of when it comes to graduate school. October 8th, we should start drafting your applications if you have not already. November 12th is just going to be a checkup to sort of like say, hey, how are you doing? Any issues? How are your applications going? Are you ready to submit? That sort of stuff. And so on December 1st, we're going to submit your applications, because usually this is where most deadlines start, like asking for your applications. Like I know for mine, they were mostly on December 4th. And then like in January, we're going to host mock interviews to help you sort of like get an idea of what an admissions committee or will start asking for, and an opportunity for you to start practicing asking questions to the admission committee, because that's an important aspect of the interview, is that you ask them questions as well, because it shows them that you are interested in the program and that you have done some research into their program as well. So that could be a leg up. So now I'm going to turn it over to Jacob Steele, to give some of the rundown of some of the brief events in a little more detail, so you guys know what we're talking about.
Yeah, thanks, Alejandro. So as Alejandro said, I'm going to be discussing more of the monthly breakdown of the meetings. You saw the broad timeline, but let's give you a little more information on what those meetings are going to be. So if we want to go and move it to the first slide. Oh wait, can I actually do that as a co-host? No, he's sharing a screen. Okay, never mind. Okay, so the first meeting after this one, of course, is going to be the meeting on June 9th at 3 p.m. Now, this is going to be where we discuss selecting your program, selecting your PI, and also discussing the GRE a little more in detail. The biggest things we're going to cover on how choosing a graduate STEM program are your factors to consider when looking at different schools' programs, different research groups at universities. That's a very important one because you want to choose a school that's applicable to your interests, and as well as contacting principal investigators, PIs at the university if applicable, which is very useful because it kind of gives you a leg into the institution that you're looking into. We're also going to be addressing one component very early on, which is the GRE. I'm sure you have heard of it. I cannot remember what it stands for, but it's basically like a graduate admission test in a way, kind of like a graduate aptitudes test. And they do have subject-specific GREs, so we're going to need to discuss your subject-specific GREs if that's applicable as well. We'll also talk about the scoring metrics because it is a very unique scoring metric. It goes by percentile, so we'll go a little more in detail with that. Now, the next meeting in June is an optional meeting. I highly, highly recommend that you join this meeting. We're going to be discussing fellowships, specifically the NSF fellowship, because you can actually apply to it while you're an undergraduate. And as Alejandra has said, that is very enticing for whatever program you're applying to. I didn't know that we could apply to this as an undergraduate. I feel like that is something that isn't discussed much, especially amongst undergraduate professors. So you have two opportunities. You have one while you're an undergraduate, so it's basically a freebie, and then you get a second opportunity when you're a graduate student. So you can apply to this twice. It pays, I believe it pays better than most stipends. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but you will actually get more money from this as well as money to fund your research and your tuition. And we also discuss a very different mixture of other fellowships as well. And you can see that this board, there's a lot. So I won't go through this board, but there are a lot of options out there once you actually get into graduate school as well. Okay, so in July, you're going to shift your focus into the actual application materials. And we will discuss with you how to write a statement of purpose and also the difference between a statement of purpose and a personal statement. We'll discuss resumes and CVs, letters of recommendations, and a very, very important one is how to ask for said letters of recommendations, because there is a certain way you should go about this. You should be very mindful of that as well. And also the ways to keep track of your application materials for each programs, because every school uses a different program, and that is one of the more infuriating parts when you're applying to. You got to log into this portal, and then you got to log into another portal to check your applications. It can get very, very convoluted very quickly. So we'll discuss that with you as well. Now, we don't have a set date for this yet. However, in July, we are planning on doing an admissions panel, and we're going to host a panel of professors who serve on graduate committees from different departments, because we know you're from a very diverse number of departments. We're trying to get somebody from each department. We're not sure if we are going to be able to yet, but we're trying to, in terms of all of who have applied. We're going to discuss what they specifically look for in applications on the admissions level or on the committee level, any red flags that they might see in applications, what their great insight for applications would be. And also, if you have any questions for them, it is a perfect time to join and ask those questions. If there's something you want to know about the admissions process from somebody who's on a committee, it is the perfect time and perfect opportunity. In August, on August 9th, we're going to be specifically focusing on interviews, and as well as you're more focusing into your CV and resume structure. Now, graduate admissions interviews, we're going to shift into questions that they will ask, questions you should ask, because it should be a two-way road. It's not just going to be interviewing you. In some ways, you're going to be interviewing the program and making sure this program is the right fit for you. You also need to prepare an elevator pitch about you and your research, especially if you're currently doing undergraduate research and have been doing it for a while and have results to speak about. Now, we'll also, like I said, discuss your CV and resume structuring, because there is a major difference between the two, very major difference, and you need to know when to use each one. So September is going to be a mental health awareness panel that we are currently in works with, I believe, CAPS. Graduate school can be very, very stressful, and also undergraduate, but graduate school, you have a lot of responsibilities. I mean, not only are you usually doing research, you're TAing, you are, or like, designing experiments. There's a lot that comes with it. So we need to discuss some of those mental stressors associated with graduate school with you and how to combat said stressors. And another big one is moving to a new location. Now, you may stay in the Houston area, but if you don't, that can be a very, very hard change. I know I went through that myself. I originally am from South Florida, and I moved to Houston in August. It's a big change to get used to, and it does kind of create an additional stress on top of your new program adapting to graduate life. And we'll also discuss a little bit about what to do and what not to do when beginning graduate school. So mainly focusing on the mental health aspects.
All right, now I'm gonna turn it over to Sebastian to discuss the rest of the topics for us.
Okay. So on October 8th, we're going to have our application statement drafting. So in here, we're going to focus on your statement of purpose and personal statement drafting. For me, this was the most stressful part of the grad app, because you're trying to figure out how to best represent yourself in less than a page. So we're going to help you with that. This is going to be reviewing each component of this process, ensuring that we help you tailor your statements to your corresponding program. Of course, we're going to help you check up on your letters of rec and check up on your drafts and give you some examples going forward. Next slide, please. All right, so on November 12th and December 1st, we're going to have our checkups. The first one, November, is going to be all about how the process is going, how you're feeling about it, if you have any questions, any concerns, how we can help you. And the December one will be kind of a final checkup. At this point, you should be submitting everything, and then we'll be preparing for the mock interviews. Again, these two are just to help ease with the process of the final application month, which, again, it's probably the most stressful. I think we can all agree on that. Yeah, I hated that part about grad up. January 7th, mock interviews. So we're going to practice. This is for the sake of practice and pretty much making a good first impression when you get to talk to your grad committee. We're gonna practice asking questions and being interviewed by the grad faculty, which should be a lot of fun. Next one. So if you want to get involved, feel free to scan the QR codes shown here, the left one being the mailing list and the one on the right being our Discord. If you're interested in SACNAS, feel free to join. We do all sorts of fun social activities like game nights, which I always forget the date of. I think it's a Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Field trips. And then it's just a fun social hub of fellow-minded people. Thank you for showing up. It means a lot. And also, if you have any questions, please.
I do want to say one more thing. Those of you guys who have joined the Discord already, if you could do me a favor and make sure on the welcome channel that you checkmark React, that the rules, comments, and then that's to verify yourself. If you don't do that, you won't be able to see the rest of the server. And then in the choose your major channel, make sure that you choose your department and whether you're a graduate or undergraduate. You guys are undergraduates. And then change your nickname to your actual name so that we know who you are. And I will give you guys the mentee role. So we have a specific channel just for you guys where you can talk to each other. You can talk to us. If you need any of us, the grad officers are the ones with the royal purple names. So if you need to talk to us about anything, or if you have any questions after this that you don't feel comfortable asking like right now, then you can ask us directly. And like Sebastian was saying, we do have a lot of social events and stuff going on pretty frequently. So if you guys have any questions, you can ask in the chat or you can unmute yourself.
Hi, I had a question. Thank you guys for hosting this, by the way. This is, I'm very excited, very thankful for it. Like you guys said, I'm pretty lost, like trying to figure out all the graduate school stuff as an undergrad. So I'm very thankful for you guys doing it. I was just curious, when would we get the chance to know who our mentor is and how do we contact them?
So you go ahead.
This past week, we've been pairing you guys up. So we have the pairing pretty much complete. I think the only ones that we haven't totally paired yet have been the engineering ones. But we should have that out by next week. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to have a list where everyone has like the name of their mentor, or like the mentor, and then the names of the mentees that go with that mentor. And then we're also going to send out an email to you and your mentor. So like, here, meet each other virtually. So you guys will have each other's contact information. At least as far as email goes, and then you guys can go from there, decide whether you want to communicate on Discord or any other platforms. So that'll hopefully be next week.
Cool, thank you.